Arsenal Football Club must sign a striker this summer, and I have got the perfect solution to all of their problems up front. And most people would say they don't even have any problems. They've scored more goals than anyone in the Premier League. They've conceded less goals than anyone in the Premier League. They are top of the league. They're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League against Bayern Munich. So why do they need to sign a striker? They brought through the likes of Kai Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, Jesus. A lot of signings in the last 3 or 4 years, but the main one they need is an out-and-out number 9. Now, there's lots of names that are coming up if Arsenal were to sign a striker. There's lots of names. Ollie Watkins, Isak, Tony, Osimhen, endless names. And it's not just Arsenal that are looking for a striker. Manchester United apparently are going to go out and sign a striker in the summer. Liverpool as well want to sign a striker. Chelsea, Barcelona, Lewandowski's legs are knackered now. Real Madrid want to sign a striker. Now, the likelihood is that will be Kylian Mbappe, but they could sign someone else. And then there's North London. Arsenal, heavily linked to Isak, Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney. And I'm going to tell you why. I personally believe that if Arsenal want to be serious in the summer, Ollie Watkins is the perfect man for them. He can play left wing, he can play right wing, and he can play striker. And we all know in Mikel Arteta's signings, he signs players that he thinks are good enough for 2 or 3 positions, like Ben White. He was signed as a centre-back, but now he's playing right-back, can also play in midfield. Timber can play centre-back, left-back, right-back. Zinchenko, left-back, midfield. Kiwior, left-back and midfield. Jesus, anywhere along the front line. Havertz, anywhere along the front line and in the midfield. But Ollie Watkins genuinely is absolutely insane, and at Arsenal would cook. Now, there's a lot of positives to him, and there's maybe for me only one negative. Now, you look at Ollie Watkins this season, he scored more goals than any player for Arsenal. He has more assists than any player for Arsenal. His numbers are absolutely insane. 29 games in the Premier League, 16 goals and 10 assists. 6 games in the Conference League, 3 goals. 3 games in the FA Cup, 1 goal. 41 games across all competitions, 32 goal contributions. He has more goal contributions than any Arsenal player off the top of my head. Maybe the only one who is close is Bukayo Saka. But he's homegrown. Now, there's this narrative that goes around in football clubs that there's not that many talented available English players. And you look at Ollie Watkins, I personally believe he needs to leave Aston Villa. He's 28 now. You know, Ivan Toney will be leaving Brentford, will be available in the summer. Potentially Gordon could be available if Newcastle have FFP problems. I look at it right now and just think genuinely, Ollie Watkins has got all the attributes that Arsenal need. They do not have a clinical finisher up front. Now, as good as Jesus and Kai Havertz have been, and yes, there's been plenty of ups and downs in their career so far at Arsenal. You look at Gabriel Jesus, plenty of injuries, quite a few setbacks. You know, last season, I think he actually missed about 4 months of the season. Kai Havertz took him 10 to 12 games to kind of settle in. He started scoring goals now. But Ollie Watkins is Premier League proven, is homegrown, and is a finisher. You know, Arsenal don't have one of these other than Bukayo Saka and Martinelli. They are the best finishers at the football club. But when you're continuously playing in 4 competitions, which is what Arsenal's goals are, you need to have a very, very big and healthy squad. If you look at Liverpool's front line, Darwin Núñez, Jota, Diaz, Salah, it's absolutely insane. And then they throw the kids in. You know, Arsenal need to have a forward line like that to challenge on all 4 fronts, which I'm assuming is what they want to do next season. Ollie Watkins, for me, is everything they need. The finishing part of him, he's homegrown, he's quick, he can play multiple positions. His hold-up play is very good. He's very good at running down the channels, running down the flanks. He enjoys running at players. His availability is insane. Off the top of my head, I think he's only missed, I think it's 2 or 3 games all season. And bearing in mind, they've already played 41 games this season. Tottenham at the end of the season, coming May, would have played 41 games in all comps. Aston Villa are through to the quarterfinals of the Conference League. They've got a big game against Lille, and he's performing on all fronts. No player in the Premier League has got more goal contributions than Ollie Watkins. Like, genuinely, we're not getting enough we're not hearing about Ollie Watkins as much as we should be in this coming up for the upcoming transfer window. Everyone's kind of talking about Tony. Everyone's talking about Gordon. Everyone's talking about this player, that player. But Ollie Watkins is the one we should be speaking about. 28 years of age, in his absolute prime of his life, scoring and creating goals more than anyone. Contract expires 2028. The downside to potentially signing Ollie Watkins, he only signed a contract on the 6th of October 2023. So we know how much the homegrown rule is in terms of how much English tax affects players. Ollie Watkins is valued at 65 million euros. Now, Aston Villa, we know notoriously are a very good selling club when it comes to selling their big boys. Jack Grealish, they sold for 100 million pounds, because he had a release clause. I genuinely think that if Arsenal, potentially Liverpool, Chelsea, whoever goes in for Ollie Watkins, you are going to have a very, very good project for him to leave Aston Villa. Unai Emery's only been there 2 years or 1.5 years. Aston Villa are currently sitting 4th in the Champions League positions, through to the quarterfinals of the next round of the Conference League, spanking Ajax 4-0. They robbed West Ham of a win. West Ham should have beat them on the 17th of March, last Premier League game. They've got a lot of winnable games coming up. Brentford, Lille, Wolves, Bournemouth, Lille again. Ollie Watkins could quite easily get another 15 goal contributions, at least, in the remaining games. I think Arsenal, out of all the teams that are looking at Ollie Watkins, out of all the teams that are available, I think Arsenal's the best project for him. I think when you make that move to signing for a really big club, the likelihood is you're going to get into the national team a lot more. Harry Kane's, 31 years of age in July. England have got to be thinking, is Harry Kane's last tournament going to be the next World Cup? Who's going to be the striker after that? Is it going to be Tony? Is it going to be Watkins? Is it going to be someone else? Could we play a winger in a forward position? And I think when you get that opportunity to sign for the bigger club, the likelihood of you making the national team is a lot higher. The one thing when I talk about Ollie Watkins, I do think he needs to improve, is being a big game player. Arsenal need a big game player. For me, the only player that turns up consistently in the big 6 games is Bukayo Saka. He is the only one who does not drop form. Even when his form isn't at his best, he still manages to affect the game for a goal or an assist or a goal creating action, whether it's a cross that sets up, the assist to the assist, as people call it. Arsenal need a big game player. And that is the only doubt I have over Ollie Watkins. When you look at his performances this season, when you look at the big games, like one of the biggest games Villa had this season was Tottenham, and he didn't really turn up, in that game, and it was a massive game in the top 4 race, but he has got 16 Premier League goals, 2 more than the closest Arsenal player to him. He's got 50 Premier League goals now or something like that. And when you look at the games he turns up in, I don't know if you can class him as a big game player yet. Like his best performances, AZ Alkmaar, a couple of goals in those games. He has had a very good Conference League reign in terms of turning up in performances, but Manchester United, I thought he was poor. Tottenham, I thought he was poor. The Arsenal game, he did okay. The Chelsea game, I think he scored. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be the big game player that Arsenal need. However, he would be a fantastic addition to Arsenal Football Club. And where they are right now, in terms of the end goal is obviously to win the league title. Now, if they don't win the league title this year, Arsenal, they currently sit top, got tough games coming up. Manchester City away, Chelsea at home, Villa, funnily enough, at home, Brighton away, of course, home and away in the Champions League to Bayern Munich. And then you've got Spurs and North London derby, and then Manchester United away. If you had a player like Ollie Watkins in your ranks, and you could potentially play Ollie Watkins, Saka, Martinelli, and then you've got the likes of Kai Havertz, Jesus, Nketiah, Nelson, you've got a lot more players to bring off the bench. It kind of gives Arsenal a different dynamic, gives them different options, different ways of playing, their forwards, different link-ups. I think going into the summer, he has to leave Aston Villa. Whether it's going to be Arsenal, Liverpool, or Chelsea is yet to be seen. Let me know down below. Who do you think Ollie Watkins should join if he does leave Aston Villa this summer? Thank you all for watching. I am out.